if the enemy's there, you know the enemy's there. You just put an RPG to the house, and then you toss frag grenades until no more voices.
Almost like Vietnam levels of sustainment loadout, giant rucksacks, everything you could possibly need needs to be carried with you because, brother, no one's going to be able to bring it to you.
Let's be honest. In 2022, when the Russians were about 20 clicks from Kyiv, it was all hands on deck.
In Afghanistan, we were fighting in the yards and the fields and whatever of people who were just living there, right? And it's like, life goes on wherever you are.
To be honest, it was just, for me, personally, it was just the right thing to do.
Okay, hello everyone from Ukraine. We record today the podcast for International Legionnaires community. Yes. Today we have here Murray from US and Tuga from Portugal.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, please introduce yourself. Murray, we are from the one unit. Yes, I'm officer of Armed Forces of Ukraine. We serve in International Legion of DIU, but maybe someone still doesn't know who you are. So please enjoy the life and represent yourself.
Yeah, my name's Murray. I'm the company commander for Able Company and 1st Squadron of the International Legion Defense Intelligence of Ukraine. I've been in Ukraine for over 3 years now, and pretty much always with 1st Squadron and working with Vlad.
Tuga, please.
I'm Tuga. I'm currently an instructor for 3rd Assault Brigade in the 3rd Army Corps of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. And yeah, basically that's it. I'm an instructor of foreign people that come and they want to join the brigade. And yeah.
Guys, can you explain, please, for audience that maybe doesn't aware about what's going on here, about your units? So what is Army Corps?
So the 3rd Army Corps is basically what in maybe other armies, for example, the US, if I'm not mistaken, it might be like a division. Okay, so you have the corps itself or the division, and then you will have multiple brigades inside that corps. And 3rd Assault Brigade or 3rd Stormova, it's one of the brigades inside that corps. So it's basically just a structure itself. At the moment, in terms of Ukrainian armed forces, it's the 3rd Assault Brigade is well known inside the country and outside the country also, and it just kind of grew into an army corps, and yeah, now it's bigger. It has more. It has more men, more equipment, but also more responsibilities, so to say. So we have foreign personnel. And of course, due to a lot of language barrier that exists, the foreign personnel also needs training, and I'm doing that job also, not alone, of course. But yeah, it's basically the structure itself. The core is just a structure that just passed from a brigade a level up, so to speak.
So did they add some new brigades, or they just increased the 3rd Assault?
No, I believe they observed some brigades. So some brigades started to belong to the 3rd Army Corps, or they are under the responsibility of the 3rd Army Corps, such as 53rd Brigade, for example. It's under the responsibility of the 3rd Army Corps, if I'm not mistaken, and it also grew up in numbers. But the structure of the brigade, the 3rd Assault Brigade, didn't change a lot, which is good in a way. Because it maintains the organization that you need. And again, 3rd Assault Brigade since the beginning, since the creation of the brigade, has been going to the front lines and stayed in the front lines. So it's also good to maintain that organization.
Tell the story, how it was created, like 3rd Assault. Maybe it will be interesting for because this unit is really famous and efficient. So, like, shortly story about how it.
So basically, 3rd Assault Brigade, we all know Azov, yeah. All know Azov, and 3rd Assault Brigade was created from Azov, and was created as a brigade in 2022. And it started to grow and grew and grow and grow and grow, and it started with 1st Assault Battalion, and then 2nd Assault Battalion, and then it became more mechanized, and he had first mechanized battalion and second mechanized battalion, and then it started to grow, especially on the front of technology when it comes to FPV and Mavics. So it's a very well established unit. It had major success in a lot of work they've done so far. They have huge success. That's why they're very well known. And that happened also because of the training that the officers had back in the day, and the NCO. So the structure was a little bit not as Soviet as it should be, or as it was, but more Western aligned when it comes to responsibilities of NCOs and etc. So I think that helped with the success and the structure of the unit itself, and the responsibilities of a company commander, of a platoon commander, or a squad commander, or even the sergeants. They had more responsibility, they had more autonomy also. So I think that helped a lot with the success. They did an amazing job in places like Bakhmut, in places like Avdiivka, for example. They did an amazing job in situations that were not supposed to be successful, so to speak. So 3rd Assault Brigade is a very good organization. It's a very good brigade, and yeah.
Are foreigners in 3rd Assault Brigade and Corps are spread to the different teams, different companies, or they are like collected in some units?
We have the kind of like international battalion. However, depending on the nationality of the foreigners, and also depending on the way they operate or their level of quality, they can either go, for example, to 1st Assault Battalion, they can go to Rifleman Battalion, they can go to other brigades such as 60 Brigade or 53rd Brigade, just because it depends on the level of also the quality, and also depends on the need of personnel. Yeah. So now it's a 3rd Army Corps, so it has that responsibility. However, 3rd Assault Brigade, with their instructors and with their officers, they do some kind of triage. Okay, and when you do that triage, you see the quality, and then you assign people through their quality and their motivation to different kind.
What's
different kind of
triage?
units.
I don't know.
Triage is like selection, if you want to
Okay.
call it a selection. Yeah. So yeah, you can go to Recon Battalion, you can go to 1st Assault, you can go to 2nd Assault, you can go to 1st or 2nd Mechanized. So it's quite open.
So when you try to join, you can select the unit where you would like to go, or you will be assigned.
It can go both ways. It can go both ways. For example, I want to go to Recon Battalion. However, my physical levels or my technique or my tactical levels are not as good as they should be to be going to Recce Bat. So if I'm not at that level, I'm not going to go. It's just simple, right? But I might have a good score to go, let's say, to 1st Assault. And I might have the motivation to go to 1st Assault, because this also has a lot to do with motivation. Okay, if I'm an instructor and I see a guy that's fully motivated, he puts in the work, he's in for the long run or whatever, maybe that guy deserves a chance, and it will be helpful.
So you can try, but it doesn't mean that you will be like taken, right?
Yeah. Let's say I wanna join 3rd Assault to go to Recon Battalion. Well, it's up to you. To be honest, it's mainly, most of all, it's up to you. The amount of work you put in, it's up to you.
Okay, Murray, DIU Legion.
Yeah.
What this is?
I mean, what we would like, what is the organization itself?
Yes,
DIU
what is
Legion?
International Legion? So the right title is the International Legion of the
Defense
Defense Intelligence of Ukraine, to the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, etc., etc. So this is like special activity unit you serve in, like I serve in. Can you describe the audience? They maybe don't know what this organization is, what this unit is, what for it is, and etc.
Yeah. So the DIU, or the the Legion International Defense Intelligence of Ukraine, or the International Legion Defense Intelligence of Ukraine, the ILDU. came about in the early days of the war as the GUR alternative to, or the Ministry of Defense Intelligence alternative to the Army version of the International Legion. So essentially you had the International Legion that was ran by the ZSU, then you had the International Legion that was being ran by the Ministry of Defense Intelligence, which was the ILDU. And it was much like what we're talking about with Third Assault. That was like going through the selection process back in the day. You would be channeled to one of these two organizations depending on your level of experience and your military background, skills and abilities and fitness level, and motivation as well, like your willingness to do what was needed to be done. Granted, the screening process in the early days was drastically streamlined. But it was mostly looking at like a CV and whatnot and being like, okay, you served here, here, and here. Your background checks out. Roger that. You can work with these dudes. And then kind of like peer reviewing people and evaluating them as they went through. However, as time has gone on, that process has been made more efficient and more thorough and changed drastically. But I can talk about that more later. What the unit itself actually does, we consist of multiple squadrons. I think we're like 6 or 7 or something at this point, which would be, you could look at them as like companies or battalions, depending on the size of personnel that they have, where that fits in the organizational structure. But how we work is we have small specialized teams within those squadrons that they cover down on tasks that are within their wheelhouse, so to speak. So like you might have a group of dudes who are specialized in mortars. You'll have a team of dudes who are specialized in drones, be that observation drones, FPV drones, long-range reconnaissance drones, like fixed-wing ones. Or you'll have teams that are more focused on infantry tasks and like assaulting, or like what me and my guys do is like reconnaissance and engineering work a lot more, sapper stuff. And a lot more of the shaping the battlefield kind of work. Yeah, well, not so much sabotage nowadays, unfortunately, as much as we would love to do that. The opportunities to penetrate the enemy line have not been as forthcoming as we would like to see in some of the areas. But that work is incredibly successful nowadays in a lot of areas. But really, like, small specialized tasks. So previously how I've seen the Legion used that was very successful was like partner forces. We don't have the manpower or the numbers to work in the same capacity that like Third Assault does, for example. We are a smaller unit for sure. And so we benefit from working in partnership with other Ukrainian units who already hold a sector of the line, and plussing up their numbers and plussing up their abilities. So if we are deployed to an area, we'll usually start getting in touch with the units that are working there. Our commanders will, and then we will see where like there are gaps in the line where we can be used to the best efficiency, and our unit will be employed in those areas. So a little bit more of a like supporting in a lot of ways. Not to say that we don't have our own sectors of the front, because we absolutely do. It's just the scale is a bit different to what you would see with like Third Assault operations and whatnot, because like I said, we just don't have the same manpower.
Have our units worked together?
Have we worked together?
Yes.
Yeah.
When we operated in Bakhmut,
Mm-hmm.
I was on that team. You were still on that other team. Remember?
Yeah.
The guys that when we were working on the southeast of
Oh,
Bakhmut, near the quarry.
I remember.
Third Assault was holding that sector, for example.
And I think
That's one example I'm recounting on. When I was not even in Third Assault. I was in ILDU.
So you was part of the Legion?
Yeah.
Oh, sounds
From
good.
2022, yeah.
And when did you show up in the country?
2022.
2022?
March 2022. Yeah.
Okay. And joined the Legion?
Yep.
Okay. And Murray?
it was May of 22.
What was your decision? Why did you show up here?
To be honest, it was just, for me, personally, it was just the right thing to do. It was the right thing to do. Like, when you get deployed in other situations, for example, me, Africa, All right, I was deployed in Africa, and you're doing a mission and or doing a deployment. It's like, okay, this makes sense because you're actually helping people, right? You're helping people against armed gangs and armed rebels, whatever you want to call it, and they make the living on that place just absolute hell for the normal person, right? Let's say you want to get some water and you have to cross a bridge to get a water. If they control the bridge, they're going to ask you for money just to get water. So this is just a tiny example. So us being over there makes sense. Now my question is, as a former NATO soldier also, right? Why there were such deployments such as, for example, Iraq, Afghanistan, Bosnia, right? Kosovo. If those were legit, what about this one? Is it not? And if the politicians don't do nothing, if the governments don't do nothing, I guess it's up to the individuals, guys like me, like Murray, like great amount of individuals that just came here. And if you think about it, how many? What, 20,000? 10,000 foreigners here. So it's a deployment, so to speak. You know, if the politicians don't do anything, I guess it's up to us as individuals to just come and do the right thing. That was my motivation, it still is.
A weird question, but question. I had my also American friend. So when he started the trip here, and he asked me, like, how is it here? How is it in the country? I started to understand from his point of view that he thinks that he drives and he travels somewhere like Africa. So what's the difference between Ukraine campaign and Africa? Because a lot of people can have this, feeling.
I know, I understand what you're saying. So a lot of people think that Ukraine is all destroyed, and as soon as you get to Ukraine, it's going to be FPVs flying or artillery rounds, and so they make a lot of, oh, there's restaurants open, oh, there's civilizations. Like, yeah, Ukraine is not a small country. Let's just put it on this. Like, Ukraine is not a small country, and where the battle is, or where the front is just a portion, a tiny portion of the whole landmass of the country itself. So I know what you're saying, because a lot of people thought that, and if you talk to some guys, they actually think, oh, I thought this would be destroyed. And
I thought when I was first coming over the border, like back in the day, like crossing into Lviv, in my naivety at the time, I was asking, like, do I need to like throw my plates and helmet on like once we're through the border? Like, what's this like?
I had some dudes in the bus. As soon as we got into the bus, we were crossing the border. They were already kitted out, like plate carriers and helmets. And I'm like,
I remember,
chill, dudes.
Even my first drive out east with the boys, heading out to like the Severodonetsk and Kramatorsk area back in the day, we were like halfway out there, and I was bugging the commander and my TL at the time, like, okay, like, when do we need to like start looking out for like fast air or like anything overhead? And then they're like, what are you talking about, man? Like,
Chill, man.
Yeah.
I remember that also, like going to Severodonetsk, like, okay, is this the route? And then we made a mistake, and we shouldn't. No, we didn't make a mistake. Like, the intel changed overnight, so we just went through the van through enemy lines, and it was like some Ukrainian was like, "Don't go," and we're like, "Yeah, okay, it's cool." And I was, oh, maybe it's not cool, so we went back. So I think that Africa, it's totally different. All right, of course, depends on where you are in Africa. I was on Central Africa. On African Central Republic. So it's very different. All right, it's a whole different civilization. Okay, all right, yeah, you have Bangui, but even Bangui it's not as developed as it should be. It's the capital. It's the capital. It's the capital of Central African Central Republic. So you have no comparison. There's no way to compare Ukraine to Africa. Even the battlefield itself, there's no comparison. Right? It's a different ball game, so to speak. You have more thick jungle, so you're fighting in the jungle. The weather is different. The utilization of vehicles, depending on the season, you can use them or not. If it's monsoon season, just forget it, because they're not gonna work. The vehicles, they're gonna reach a point that they're gonna stop. So you have to walk it out. It's very different. And also, we cannot compare the scenery of fighting against an army like the Russian army, or fighting a couple of rebels with AKs and maybe some RPGs. You cannot compare that. In terms of Ukraine as a country, it's like the country itself. I hear a lot of people criticizing, oh, people dying in the front, and then you go to places like Lviv or Kyiv, and people are just living their lives, and it's just like, wouldn't you live your life? I don't understand those critiques, because wouldn't you live your life? I remember when I came here back in 2022, like Kyiv was boarded up. A lot of things were boarded up. Restaurants were closed. People still had that curfew. It was like 9 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken, back in the day.
Yeah.
And it's like people were being prisoners in their own city. So of course, when the Russians were kicked out of Bucha, Irpin, the situation was more secure. Of course, people just went out to compensate for that time. And it's like, imagine a person that's been in jail for 10 years. As soon as he comes out, what's he going to do? He's going to party. He's going to get to know the society itself, right? And it's the same thing. So you cannot even compare like Ukraine to Africa. I don't think you can compare Ukraine, not even to Afghanistan or Iraq. I don't think it's...
There's similarities, absolutely. Like when you're in a gunfight, just the ability of the person you're fighting is, going to be different, and the tactics that they use. And driving over an IED is much like driving over a mine kind of thing.
Oh,
like
yeah,
getting blown
sure.
up, getting blown up.
Yeah.
But it's like the scale of it, right?
Yeah.
Like this is all day, 24/7 when you're on the front line, as opposed to like, okay, that event might happen once in a week in Afghanistan or once a month kind of thing. And like you were saying about the like people getting upset about like people just living their lives and stuff.
Yeah.
I always tell people like, yeah, but it's like why dudes like you and I are here, right? In my mind, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to be trying to do something like the work that I do now, wherever I am, because it's like part of my passion in life is military service.
It's either
right?
you knew or it's not.
Yeah.
And
if I can do it here, so that somebody else who is like an aspiring doctor or like lawmaker or whatever, the next Nobel Peace Prize winner or whatever can continue to do their thing and doesn't have to go to the front, cool. Because I want to go and do that work.
That's what we do, man.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what people don't get.
Yeah.
Like people don't understand. It's like this kind of work. People call it a job. People can call it whatever they want. But this is either in you or not. You did how many years in the American Army? 10 for let's say. I did almost 10 years also. I did seven, almost 8 years, right? And I went to the civilian world. I was like, I can't do this. I cannot. Oh, but you're a veteran, you need to come back to society. Wait a minute. I'm not coming back to society. I'm coming into society. That's the first thing people don't get. Second thing is like...
Can you please more widely, what do you mean?
For example,
how old were you when you joined the military?
Exactly. I was 19 when I joined the military. So I'm not coming back to normal society. I'm coming into society because I was in my late teens when I joined the Army.
Yeah.
And then I spent the best years, like the 20s, the best years of your life you spend on a structure, and you have a sense of meaning, and you have friendship like you've never known before, and you're never going to know again unless you continue with that path. So you when you come out of the Army, you don't come back to society. You start coming into society. And that's when I think guys like me, like Murray, like some friends we know, we decided we cannot do this. Being a civilian, it's not for us. So we get this calling. It doesn't matter if it's coming into Ukraine, if it's fighting with a YPJ, the Peshmerga. It's a matter of having a purpose and a sense of meaning. And for guys like us, it's mostly about defending other people. Like he was saying, if I can fight here, so a young boy, which is doing university or whatever, or young girl doesn't have to go to the front and die, I'll do it.
Exactly.
Oh, but you don't know them. Yeah, so what? So what? Is his life worth less than mine? So yeah, it's a calling, and I think people don't understand that, and you cannot explain. It's just right. You just cannot explain that, man.
I think a lot of people misunderstand, like you were saying about like the state of Ukraine as well, like that we're fighting, so many people are fighting, not just us, but the Ukrainians themselves, obviously. So many people are, and not just fighting, but contributing as much as they possibly can to the war effort, be it like through donations or volunteer work, whatever they can. Since 22, not even since 22, since 2014 and before, people have reshaped their entire lives for what's happening now and to better support it. And so you hear things like people get frustrated with the police, for example. People come back to Kyiv and they're like, oh, these cops, and like dudes think that they can just badmouth the police and stuff because they're not out east serving. And it's like, okay, well, like, yeah, there are police that frustrate everybody through their behavior and their individual actions, but being annoyed at the police organization overall because they're not out east, like, how do you think this works? Like, all the police are just going to pick up and go out east, and then like law and order is just going to dissolve in the central part of the country, and like
you cannot do that because you just crash the country. Exactly. And the idea of fighting is not to crash the country; it's to maintain the country, right?
So we actually have police brigades here.
Yeah,
you do. If I'm not mistaken, Omega is one of them.
Omega is National Guard. We have Luch Brigade. It's police brigade. We have inside the Loot Brigade, for example, Tsunami. I'm not sure if they are a regiment or what, but they are actually police service.
Yeah, police special.
They actually do the same job that you guys do, but they are police. They have police IDs.
Yeah,
I have tons of friends of.
It's that thing. It's like this is a scale, right? If we were to reach the time, well, back in 2022, it was all hands on deck.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be honest. In 2022, when the Russians were about 20 clicks from Kyiv, it was all hands on deck. However, that time has passed. So if you need to maintain a certain order, like he was saying, it's like the police, all the police goes into the front lines, and then what? What happens to the cities? Chaos. So you will have an internal battle of chaos inside your own country, and then you still have to fight the enemy. It makes absolutely no sense. And you can go, since the war, there's another misconception, and I'm glad you actually talked about it, especially on the western front of it.
When the war actually started, kind
of. People have a very, foreigners, especially on the west, have
west of Ukraine or west?
No, the west.
World?
On the west. Okay. On the west. Europe, United States, whatever. They have a little bit of a misconception when this war actually started. They think it started in 2022. It didn't. It started in 2014, 2015, with the Crimea invasion and the ATO or the war in the Donbass. Yeah. But a lot of people don't understand that. So they think that Ukrainian people is only fighting since 2022, which is not true. Right? A lot of guys that we see, and I've met some of them, they were fighting in 2014 and 2015, and then they got out of the army. They did their lives, and now they're back in 2022. So some people that we might see, and police officer, for example.
Yeah.
Oh, he's not in East. Yeah, maybe he's not in East now, but he was in 2015 or 2016, right? So he might be a vet, but you don't know about it.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of this misconception when it comes to the start of the war and how long the Ukrainian people is actually fighting for their own country. And that misconception is very dangerous. Because, they've been fighting for 3 years. No, they've been fighting for 11 or 12 years. Maybe in a smaller scale, but still, people died, right? One of the biggest battles It's the Donetsk airport, right? And a lot of people don't know what happened over there. It's not widespread, that information. So this misconception is a little bit dangerous, and people should be aware of that, that the war has been going for so long that it's normal people start getting tired and continue to live their lives, man.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yep. I mean, I think you see it in just about any conflict zone you go to as well, that like in Afghanistan, we were fighting in the yards and the fields and whatever of people who were just living there, right? And it's like life goes on wherever you are, even if there's military conflict in the midst of it. It's a pretty insane thing to see. Yeah.
I've seen stuff over here that I'm like, huh. For example, a mortar round. You just have a house with two old people living there back in East, and a mortar round, 120, just stuck, you know, in the backyard. And the old man was just like taking care of the plants, and the mortar round was over here. And it's like, hey, don't do, and he just, in Ukrainian, basically what he told is like, hey, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
I'm going to stop my life because of this? No, I'm just going to continue. What if it blows up? If it blows up, it blows up.
Hasn't yet.
So far, so good. So, yeah, it's but that reveals a little bit of the Ukrainian spirit, right? It's like, I'm not going to stop my life. So that goes, it's widespread around Ukraine. It's like, I'm going to live my life until something happens. And that's what we're here for, basically, I think.
My girl always says that there's, if like one of us is complaining too much or like whining about something, she'll always say there's no time for weakness in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
yeah,
it's
just
true.
push, just keep on pushing,
just keep
right?
on going.
Yeah, man.
Everybody's dealing with something, so.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
It's just, it is what it is, right?
Murray, I have a question.
Yeah, of course.
When nowadays, like now, not in back 2022, new guys show up and have an intent to join, for example, our unit. Yes, and the same question for discussion. What's the difference in motivation that period of time, 2022, now, and what usually they meet that doesn't meet their expectations? What what makes them surprised? They didn't expect this, so to make this, wow, I didn't know that it's like this. What's usually guys talk about and discuss?
So I think in terms of like the motivation that we see for dudes coming over nowadays,
Difference between 2022 and now.
Yeah. Back in 22, I think you saw a lot of combat veterans coming over who maybe, like, speaking from like an American point of view, just because that's what I'm much more familiar with. A lot of the like combat veterans who came over in 22 and I served with here were dudes who were like on the tail end of the GWAT. Then maybe they did a combat deployment to like Iraq or Afghanistan, but it was winding down, not a lot of action going on, right? So they didn't really get their fill there. They didn't get the opportunity to test or challenge themselves or see combat like they wanted to. So a lot of those guys were kind of chasing that a bit, or like we were talking about, the dudes. I'd say even a larger portion of the dudes are probably motivated by like a sense of justice, like right and wrong. They saw what was happening. Zelensky asked for help from veterans. They were like, that's me. I can do this. What else do I have going on right now? This is a noble pursuit. I'm going to pursue it. And not to say that we don't see that nowadays, because I think that's always going to be a long-standing like reason. Because like we were talking about, this is one of those like wars where it's like, this is really easy to see that this is like right versus wrong. Like I don't want to like, I don't want to make it like cliche or anything, but like a good versus evil kind of thing. Like I feel I'm a simple dude. Like I'm not the smartest guy in the world. So like in my mind, it's very clear cut that it's like the Russian invasion is wrong. Standing for a country that is trying to defend its own freedom and its own identity is right. Easy as kind of thing. If people want to debate and get into the politics of it and the gray area of like, these dudes do this, these dudes do that, don't care, because that's not my job. I'm not a politician. Big picture, I've seen the Russians commit atrocities, and I see Ukrainians fighting for their freedom and their survival as a people. I think I know what side to stand on with that. And I think that's what motivates a lot of people still coming in. But in terms of like how it's changed, I think nowadays we push for a more long-term, we're trying to build an organization, right? Much like Third Assault's trying to build an organization for the future, right? It's not just like, let's get through this year.
It's the future of the army itself. It's the future of Ukraine itself, even after the war is over, because it will end one day.
Yeah.
It's just the future of it, yeah.
So I think in 22, it was a lot more of like, hey, like you were saying, all hands on deck, right? Like everybody's fighting, let's get, if you can shoot a rifle proficiently, great, we'll take you. And those dudes didn't necessarily have like a long-term view, but now we are looking more at that long-term, that like, hey, we've had dudes who have been serving here for 3+ years in the same unit. This unit's been around, it's proven itself. How are we going to solidify this thing as a concrete organization and a structure that lasts for the years to come and continues to benefit Ukraine? And I think people are drawn in by the prospect of that, oh, okay, this is somewhere that I can like build a career. I can get skills, hard skills. I can get sent to schools for stuff. And I can also have that opportunity to fight in one of the biggest wars, if not the biggest conventional war of the last decade, right? So I think that opportunity motivates a lot of people. Which is a different thing from like in the early days, because those dudes weren't like, oh, I'm going to come over here to go do schools. Like, no, they just wanted to go to Severodonetsk and fight. Like,
shoot.
Yeah, they were, but you had a lot more like trained dudes, like highly trained dudes who were coming over in droves, right? Lots of dudes from the special operations community who had just finished serving in like the GWAT era and stuff. So they had a lot of experience under their belt. And so those dudes are searching for the action kind of thing.
And again, the war on that period was more similar to GWAT than now it is.
Absolutely. I think about some of the fighting we were doing, or like, I was thinking about this yesterday,
Especially several, man.
Yeah.
For example.
I thought about some of the loadouts that we were taking on the ground around that time frame. And like working in like, Slovenyansk area, working up north of that. And some of the kit we took out for like a 2-3 day thing, super lightweight, very, very reminiscent of like GWAT stuff. And I think about like this last deployment that the boys did and the kit that was being taken out to the zero line there. And it's a complete change. We're talking like almost like Vietnam levels of sustainment loadout, giant rucksacks, everything you could possibly need needs to be carried with you because, brother, no one's going to be able to bring it to you.
Yeah, like, and you don't know when it's going to be rotated out, when you're going to be rotated out.
Yeah,
it can take 5 days, it can take 20.
Exactly.
It just depends on the battlefield itself and the means that you have available. What I'm saying is now, back in 2022, I'm on the same page as you are. You had a lot of people coming in just to fight, just to have a gunfight. You had a lot of people coming in also to help, but not in the long term. It'll be, okay, I'm going to help Ukraine in a couple of months, and then the situation quiets down and I'm going to go back home. But again, like you're saying, like you also had a lot of experienced people and a lot of already schooled people, right? So you have guys coming in with a full EOD course, for example. They know what they're doing. You had guys with experience like 5 years in recon, in combat experience on recon, so they know what they're doing. So of course, because it was all hands on deck, it was like, hey, here you go, a little bit of refreshing and let's go to work. But I also think that some of the people that came here, not a lot, but some of the people, as long as they were like 2-3 months after their being here, they started to change their opinion and their view on things. So if their view was to help in the short term, now they're starting to change as soon as they start understanding the country and the complexity of the war itself. It's like, oh yeah, I think I'm going to stay here in the long run. From my experience, I think it depends on the foreigner or in the international guy. It depends on how was his life where he was. Of course, you also have people that think they're going to come here and they're going to gain some experience and then either go to private work or they just come. Some It is true. Some just come for money. Like if you have people that come from more poor countries, so to speak, most of them, yeah, they will come for money. But they quickly understand that,
Not the best business
yeah,
model.
it's not the best way to win. It's not the best way to win money. And so the motivation, I think I can also speak for you. This is the long run. This is new home, so to speak. It's like he has his life in the United States, of course. He's a U.S. citizen. I'm a Portuguese citizen, but for me, this is new home. So the fight, it's as much as Ukrainian fight as it is ours, right? Because I want to see the end of the war, hopefully. If not, not. And I think it will be awesome. I don't know if you think about it, but I think about it a lot. Like go to places like Severo or Bakhmut, and it's like see it rebuild, and it's like, oh, almost got shot in the head over there.
Yeah,
I remember that. So and kind of collect the fruits of the work that we've put in, and guys like us put in, and our brothers that have died, not to be in vain. That's one thing I usually think about a lot.
Absolutely.
Right.
I went through a school recently where they were very, very fastidious about like observing the 9 o'clock minute of silence every single day. Everyone on the camp stopped, no matter what you were doing. You took your hat off, you stood up, and you did the minute of silence. And it was a proper minute. It wasn't one of these like 30 seconds. Okay, it's a minute. It was like a proper minute of silence, and it was a good opportunity, like not to get corny or anything, cornball it, but like always this is like, okay, well, if we're going to do this every day, I'm just going to think about every single person that we've lost here. And that list gets so long now. And so like, I think it's when that list starts to build up of people that you're like, wow, like all the people that we've lost over here, like, yeah, this isn't just like, this is our fight now too.
Yeah,
absolutely.
it is what
like,
it is, man.
I'm not going to besmirch the memory of those dudes by just being like,
It's not in vain. You know what I mean? So you that minute of silence, we also do it. We also do it where we are, and we have a normal formation. Like we have formation in the morning, and we have the national prayer, of course. And then after the national prayer is finished, we do the minute of silence, right, for everyone that's fallen. There's no specifications if it's foreigner or not. It's just everyone that's fallen, and that's good because during that minute, like you're saying, names go through your head, and for me, it gives me the drive to go forward. You know what I mean? It's like they've paid the ultimate price for nothing. No. Just I'm a little bit tired today. Yeah, I am, but these dudes, they didn't go for nothing. So let's push up. Let's continue the work and see the main objective.
In the indoctrination program for 75th Ranger Regiment, they have the new recruit dudes go through, and you have to memorize like a fallen ranger, and so you have to like memorize their profile. And I think that's a really, really cool tradition of like instilling like the regiment history into dudes, even as they come into regiment. That it's not like, hey man, this isn't about you. It's the people who went before you, and it's the organization is a bigger thing. It's not about you as an individual. Put your personal woes and concerns, and you're having a bad day. Nobody cares. Do the work that has to be done for the big picture today. And I think that's a really cool thing.
That's I think, and that's the in Third Assault. That's the thing that we are very we insist a lot is to maintain. I don't want to call it. Yeah. I can call it that, the mystique. You know, every unit has mystique.
Sure, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You go to the U.S. Army, you have mystique. Like the Rangers have mystique, SEALs, or Deltas, or Green Berets. Everyone has mystique, right? If you go to Portugal, our Rangers have mystique. The Commandos have a mystique. And as you were saying, it's not me. It's not for me. It's for the guys that went before me. So that maintenance of the mystique and the standard of the unit, it's not only a matter of professionalism, it's a matter of respect to those who died to reach this level of mystique and of professionalism, right? For example, a lot of people in Third Assault died to build the name that we know today as Third Assault Brigade. Same thing as the International Legion. A lot of people died to reach this level. So we shall respect them and their sacrifice, and we shall, us that are living, have to maintain that and pass on the testimony to the younger generation, the ones that are coming in, to maintain that. And I think that's very important because, again, it's not only a matter of professionalism, because if you maintain the standards, you have professionalism, but it's also a matter of respect.
Yeah.
For those who have fought and paid the ultimate price, man.
Esprit de corps, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
the values
Spirit of
shared.
corps, yeah.
Yeah, and pride in the unit.
Yeah.
Because people don't remember you. They're not going to remember Murray Seabrook. They're going to remember, I hope they remember, 1st Squadron of the International Legion.
Man.
That's what's important.
Yeah.
And I talked about like standards a lot with people I'm close with because it's such an important thing, right? And that one it's so incredibly important that like, if you start dropping standards or let dudes pass without like meeting standards and okay, you're going to be in, well then the dudes who have made standards begin to lose trust in those standards because it's like, well, those dudes, they didn't have to meet standards, so what do I care? And then they lose trust in the integrity of the organization overall, right?
And it's a spiral.
Yep.
It's a downward spiral.
But I think one of the things that I talk to dudes a lot about here is that like guys get frustrated with shortcomings of the military, and the organization sometimes. We don't have this isn't done adequately, but okay, that's the military. But it's also that like, and I think it's like just the same thing with Third Assault, that like we have this opportunity to play a pivotal role in the development of new units. These units didn't exist years prior. And like, so like the International Legion Defense Intelligence of Ukraine didn't exist prior to 22 that I'm aware of. And
when you came here, you just put the CV to ILDU, like International Legion, and then you had some volunteers saying International Legion with a sign on the airport, and I'm going with these guys. And then all of a sudden you don't know which Legion you are, but you're in someone.
And then we get entrusted with these positions of like development, like you're an instructor, right? You're teaching the next generation of dudes coming in. We are entrusted with developing the guys, developing the organizational structure of the unit, how it works, our TTPs, everything. What the intent of the unit is developed by us to some degree because of how we work, right? And so like, where else do you have this opportunity? Like if you're looking for an incredible opportunity to do something incredibly hard, mind you, because it will not be easy. You will feel like days that you are pounding your head against the wall and like getting nowhere with it. But if you look back over the years, I mean, look at what we've achieved so far. Look at what Third Assault has done since the years of its inception. And like you said, all the places that it's fought, all the honors that it's earned in battle, not through just like hanging out, but through blood and sacrifice of people. That's an incredible thing. And to be rooted in the history of that isn't like, I don't care if I get forgotten. But if the unit survives and continues on through the years,
that's why I'm saying the mystique. You know what I mean? If for me and other dudes, if we see that the standards are being maintained and I can die tomorrow, I'll be okay with it. You know what I mean? Because I know that the unit will continue, and I think that us as instructors, when you are an instructor, you kind of like put a little bit of yourself in each member you give training. And what you hope for, at least for me, what I hope is that guy is going to go into battle with a little bit of knowledge, with a little bit of me inside him, and lives long enough to teach someone. So the legacy kind of continues whether you're alive or not, with the maintenance of those standards. And again, it's the future of Ukraine. And I think we've seen war, we fought and a huge amount of battles. We've survived so far. Good thing. And we saw the change of war itself. So from 2022 till now, the war has changed, and even in terms of operational procedures. So us teaching that and passing on that information, it's very important, I believe. And it's also important to have that trust in people like us, to receive that trust and to pass on that knowledge and to help the future of Ukraine as the army itself, not only during this war, but actually like in the long run, And one thing that Ukrainian army is doing, and I think you can vouch for that also, is the changing of mentality when it comes to leadership.
Mhm.
It was more Soviet orientated,
Yeah.
and now it's changing into more Western orientated. And I think that's not only happening in Third Assault, ILDU, but it's
Mhm.
all around the Army, and I think it's a good thing.
Well, the new core organization is specifically based off of that, isn't it? And I
Yeah.
think it's a fantastic evolution
Yeah,
in
yeah,
frontline
yeah.
control to have core, or divisions is a more familiar
Yeah,
term for
yeah.
me, but that same concept. Like divisional control of an area
Mm-hmm.
is so much better for the coordination of the units left and right, as opposed to this like,
Separate
yeah,
brigades.
it's little groups doing their own thing with mixed results on the integration to your left and right. I have high hopes for the new organization, and I do think, that's one of the great things that's
And
happened
the
over time.
ILDU growing up as it is, because remember, like in 2022, there was not a lot of people.
No, yeah.
Not a lot. You
It was
had
like
a lot
3 or
of
4
teams. There was
teams.
not a lot of people, right?
You'd
So
meet teams of dudes from like one city who are like, I'd meet dudes
We
who've
were
been
6.
working up in like Kharkiv, and they were like, no, yeah, we're in the International Legion. And I'm like, you are? I've never met you. Or
remember
heard
back in
about you.
Severo, right?
Yeah.
When we like almost were neighbors. We were neighbors,
Yeah.
right? And we were like what, 6 dudes?
I wasn't actually in Severo City itself, but the Alpha dudes were.
Yeah.
So you would have been
So
right next to them.
like
yeah.
we were 6.
Yeah.
That was a team. We were 6, and they were like 7 or 8.
Yeah.
And we got together and hey, let's do an operation. Yeah, let's go. So now the growing of it, and again, they're highly specialized in what they're doing. Mortars, recon, sniping teams, drone teams, special tasks, assaults. So they're very specialized, and their attachment to other units has worked so far, and I think it will continue to work. And the more connection you have, the more organization and talks that you have between the commands will grow even more and more and more, the professionalism in that organization, and they will have a huge impact on the battlefield, right? A small example, you have like an infantry battalion that's holding this line, and then you have teams, special tasks teams that do the recon, send in drones, do night raids on one sector, and then it draws attention to that sector, and then all of a sudden you have an infantry company just pushing into those positions and clearing 1 poshatka or 2 poshatkas, and then all of a sudden you have a breakthrough, or the other one, or vice versa. So the more, it's like a mechanism, right? The more you have when in terms of organization and speaking between organizations, for example, ILDU and Third Army Corps or whatever, the more they speak, the more in conformity they are, the more they can operate and actually make a huge amount of results, man. No questions about it.
I try to really push my guys from I believe that the company should be led by like the junior leadership. For like the junior leadership should be pushing their ideas. The junior NCOs, so to speak, should be saying like, hey man, we are primarily the leaders on the ground. We're the dudes who go first. We see it, so this is how we should do stuff. I want it to all like the development and stuff to be driven from the ground up.
Exactly.
And my command is really, really receptive to that. And then so like the top down side of that, like you're saying, right, is that units on the left and right of each other better integrate, so that then we can say, hey, these big actions are taking place. We can
What can we do to disrupt the enemy and
shape the battlefield, not
sure.
just as an individual lane, but as a lane like 5 units wide, right?
Yeah.
So the actions on the far left have consequences that the unit on the far right can take advantage of.
Exactly. That's the thing.
And that's what I'm really hoping to see coming out of this core organization.
Yeah. And that's the thing about the ILDU. The more it grows, the better it is.
Yep.
And why? Because you will have highly specialized people doing those kind of works and pushing in and disrupting activities and raiding. You know, all it takes sometimes is for 3 nights in a row to just raiding. I remember we had a sniper on our team, right? And we did an operation where he worked 2 nights in a row. And 2 nights in a row, he made the Russian army on that position to do 2 rotations. So he was so successful in his job that if the Russians wanted men on those positions, they had to do rotations. So that opened up a little bit, right? Because with the rotations, you follow, you see where they're going, where they're
Super
coming
dangerous.
from. You can take out armored vehicles and whatnot. So these small activities that sometimes people don't understand, it's kind of like working in the backstage. So like teams like ILDU operating in conjunction with big army forces such as 3rd Army Corps or 3rd Assault, or working with a huge battalion, it has a lot of impact. And again, the more coordination you have, man, the more impact we're gonna have. Whether it's the offensive momentum of the war or the defensive, I think it's more important in the defensive momentum of the war,
case,
which is our case now, than
time.
actually on the offensive momentum. But again, I think it's up to us, especially if you're an instructor, to give this feedback and to give this input to all the new guys, not to just operate like racehorses, you know, just, oh, I have to go here. No, just see the bigger picture, evaluate the terrain, and etc., etc., etc. That's very important, like to evaluate the bigger picture.
Yeah. There's a lot of dudes out here who are chomping at the bit to get theirs, get in the fight, get led down range, whatever. And I think, like you're saying, it puts blinders on dudes a lot of the time, that they're like, when can I go out next? When's the next mission? Let's go do something. And it's the responsibility of dudes like you and I, right, to say, okay, like, chill and calm down a bit. Like, there's a right way and there's a wrong way to do this. And we're speaking from experience, not just like, no, I'm not scared, man. I'm not worried about, like, seen plenty of FPVs. I've been shot at plenty.
It's about making an impact every time you go out.
But does you going out and going and doing this crazy hair mission that you're just like, yeah, but I want to get some and I see the opportunity to go here, like, does that make sense? Does it do anything, or does it just to fulfill your individual desire to go and get some, as opposed to like what you're talking about, where there's like, okay, this has obvious net benefit for the whole area and we can capitalize on what happens here by doing X, Y, and Z afterwards. This makes sense to put our resources into. Exactly, it's a struggle though, getting dudes to slow down and like,
no, I got you.
Like, yeah,
it's true.
It's a hard thing to do sometimes.
If they come highly motivated, they get out of the training highly motivated. Of course, they want to put in the work.
Yeah.
Right. But what you need sometimes, like you're saying, you need sometimes to like say, hey, chill. All right. What do you gain from going over there and exposing yourself? For example, guys holding positions, right? And then they get bored and they want to shoot at something.
Yeah.
So they grab the PKM or they grab an RPG and they shoot at a position. Why? What do you gain from that? There's nothing to gain from that.
on your position now.
You're gonna reveal your position. They're gonna know where you are, and then you're gonna get hit a lot of times. So be smart about it, and see the bigger picture, especially in guys with high qualifications, such as you guys, right? It takes time to form someone. It takes time for them to get those type of qualifications. So why do you want to risk losing 1 or 2 or 3 guys for an operation? And again, from experience, why do you want to risk losing 2 or 3 guys for an operation that is going to have 0 impact, or the impact that's going to have is very temporary? So like, let's go to the Pashat and clear those positions. Okay, you go over there, you clear those positions. After 24, 72 hours tops, they're going to retake those positions, or they're going to try to retake those positions. What kind of impact do you have on the bigger picture, on the AO, on the big AO? What kind of impact does that have? So why don't we just gather our resources and try to find somewhere where we can breach and actually push in miles away, not just 200 meters or 300 meters up front. You know, you want to have an impact. And that's why I usually say to my guys also. It's like,
yeah, absolutely.
What kind of impact do you think you're going to have if you do this?
I saw the same situation with different high qualified foreigners when I had my team in International Legion. So we did a lot of jobs in working with like friendly units. Usually it were DSHV and our Ukrainian air assault forces. And also we have this teamwork with Third Assault. Like my British guys also helped to do training there. So we found that foreigners, highly qualified foreigners, are really successful and can create really much more bigger impact when they train and they mentoring Ukrainian units. But then we met situation when like most of my team, they didn't want to do this. They didn't want to do this. We, Vlad, we want missions. And for me personally, it was much more, like easier or more efficient, to prepare entire air assault battalion, and then to drive to the mission with these dudes, with Max Pros, with these Brownings, with this old stuff. Yes, then to do some 10 men with rifles, like all the 10 idiots with rifles. What can we do with this, like? But some guys know we want mission switches. So the question is, what creates these differences in mindsets that leads one people to understand and to get this stuff, and to other guys, no, I just want to shoot and to do something, but I don't see these values in what we offer.
To be honest, in my opinion, is ego.
Just huge ego. Part, yeah.
I think first of all, I think it's very important for an instructor to have the experience, the actual experience. For example, I don't believe in I wouldn't trust me as a soldier. I think you understand what I'm saying. I wouldn't trust an instructor that, okay, had like 5 deployments on Iraq or Afghanistan. I wouldn't trust 100% on that instructor to teach me how this war works. Because it's different.
I would say, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like
it's different.
If that dude's like, hey, I've been in the USPSA pistol shooting, I'm a grandmaster of shooting competition
CQB.
in America, and I'm like, okay, cool, I will go and learn pistol competition shooting from you and like firearm handling. But if he then suddenly was like, oh, now I'm going to teach you like the principles of patrolling and patrolling in a woodline basics, but I've never actually done that in a combat, and I'd be like, well, okay, I'm probably not going to listen much.
And
like
the thing is this, right? For example, I had X amount of courses on CQB. Yeah, but see, the CQB that you learn is about not having or diminishing civilian casualties. So the breaching, the clearing the rooms, the breaching points or whatever. And depends if it's a HVT situation or it's just elimination and clearing, right? So here you don't have that. The CQB over here, you have the house that's almost destroyed by now, and you have to go through the rubble, and you have to pay attention to certain type of things. And if the enemy is there, you know the enemy is there, you just put an RPG to the house, and then you toss frag grenades until no more voices, right? And you mag dump. It's kind of true, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Unless if this is an assault, unless you're doing a recon situation where you have to go through a building to go to another building, all right, then you want to stay quiet.
Yeah.
Cool. What I'm saying is, I cannot trust an instructor that's not been into this war, and I think it's very important for us instructors to maintain connection with the war itself. 100%. So what I'm trying to explain is, if I had only fought in 2022, and now I'm teaching guys how the war is, it's not okay. It's not okay. Because in 2022, the war was like this. We had this situation, we had this amount of danger, and now we have to worry about FPVs, fiber optic FPVs. Back in 2022, you had Mavics that dropped one skid, one grenade. Now they're dropping VOGs and they're dropping mortars. Okay, you have drones now. They're attached with RPG-8s or AT-4s or whatever, right? So you have to understand how the war develops for you to have the right knowledge to teach someone.
You got to stay relevant.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think it's also important when you are an instructor to maintain contact of what's going on. And if it means to like go in the front and understand what's going on and operate again with 1 or 2 operations to understand what is going on, and then come back with a refreshed knowledge, so to speak, because you know that's true. For example, from my last operation, I've seen that it's counter nature, because you were taught, like I was taught, like if you want to move during the night.
Yeah.
It's the safest. But
Can't do
nowadays
that.
it's kind of like more safe to actually move during the day than
Yeah.
during the night because of thermal drones.
Yeah.
But if someone doesn't have this experience and it comes here and says, "Oh, if you want to move, you move during the night. You never move during the day,"
You're gonna get it. Yeah,
it's
button
bad
heads
intel.
there. Yeah.
It's bad intel, right?
Absolutely. I think it's 100% true that you have to stay relevant and up to date on your
Yeah, man.
tactics, especially as leadership. And if you're in a position of leadership and you're not going on the ground yourself, then you have to put your ego aside, like you're talking about, and listen to your dudes.
Junior leadership.
Really take everything that they're telling you in and trust them.
Yeah.
And be like, okay, well, my guys are saying it's this happening, and I haven't been there myself, so that is
I'm
my
gonna
most
trust this
trusted
intel.
source.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I'm going to develop the work around that. And one of the things that the Legion does, and I'm sure you guys do it a ton too, is that we internally review all the actions on prior missions and immediately begin developing changes in our tactics and procedures based off of those outcomes. Because of what we're talking about here, the war is constantly changing so fast, trying to keep up to date with the technology or the tactics, even so much as, hey, we're pretty sure the Russian unit has rotated out in this sector and it's a new unit we're facing. Now we're seeing this change in their tactics, how the drones operate is different. So we have to adjust to address that as well. It's a constant thing. Going back to what we were talking about though, like with the dudes here, like you said, like ego being a big thing. I'd say for me, I see age and experience being, as well as ego, and that probably like plays into that as well, as being factors as to what was it, like how dudes keeps dudes from being successful out here or motivated, right? Like it's usually that like dudes are older, so they have more life experience, so they're slowed down a bit. They understand the need to be a bit more deliberate in their actions and like plan stuff out a bit better, or they have the experience to understand that it, like the wartime experience, to understand the necessity of like, hey, if you have a week to do prep for a mission, and then you need to use that time, you need to do glass houses, rehearsals, prep gear, prep everything, not just be like, oh, my bag's packed, I'll be ready the day before. Like, nah, man, like there's so much to it, because all those things are necessary. And if you don't do them, you just want them when you're on the ground. You're just pissed you didn't do them. You're pissed that you spent 5 days playing video games when you should have been doing rehearsals of this raid or whatever. And then, but you can't change it then. It's just like cardio, right?
It's a thing of ego, right? For example, I see it like this, right? I'm proficient with an assault rifle, but I'm not as proficient with a GP25, for example. Man, I'm going on an operation, I'm going to take the GP25. Okay, I'm going to go down range if I can. I'm going to go to the range and I'm going to train and train and train and train and train until I have the level that I want to have more proficiency with a GP25. But again, that's ego, right? I think it comes to ego, right?
I think that's probably the biggest downfall of most people out here.
And that's when it comes the question you were asking, which is, why do you think the foreigners don't want to teach, but they want to go into the missions and just want to shoot? Because when you get out of the shooting into the teaching, it takes away a little bit of your ego. You're not the hero of the cameras anymore. You're not the guy with the GoPro doing cool stuff and shooting and killing people and having photos and GoPro footage. No, you're the guy behind the scenes. And because of that, I think people don't see the bigger picture. And of course, if you have 10 foreigners with a lot of experience, those 10 foreigners, they can go and do damage in the battlefield. They can, for sure. But if you grab those 10 foreigners, or Ukrainians, if you grab those 10 foreigners and you give them guys to teach, one can teach 10.
Yep.
So you can teach 100 men how to operate like they did. And in the long run, in the mid-long run, that's what we are aiming for. And that's, I believe that has to be a huge investment in terms of foreigners, from the Ukrainian armed forces and understand we have these guys, we keep getting foreigners, and we still have Ukrainians. So let's put them to use into teaching guys how to operate and how to do their job. And if 10 guys can form 100, that's a lot of dudes. And those 100 dudes are going to do some damage. So if 10 guys does damage, now imagine 100.
Yeah.
But a lot of dudes don't want that because it takes away the hero part of being in the war. You know what I mean?
I mean, I hate to say it.
I'm sure you've seen it.
You're 100% right.
I'm sure you've seen it.
And I hate to say it, but like, I think that instructing is something that looks really simple on paper, but then dudes go to instruct and they're like, oh, I had 5 basic marksmanship drills that I developed that I'm going to teach dudes today. Then they realize, wait, I have to demonstrate that ability, and I have to be able to I have to be probably the best person shooting out here today because I'm instructing.
Exactly.
And if they can't meet that pressure, that's a very difficult thing to people to accept, that they might not be as good as they think.
And the preparation is like tomorrow I have my schedule, I have my program.
The preparation.
I'm going to do this tomorrow. Okay, so what do I need?
Yeah.
I'm going to teach them how to clear a trench, or how to move in pairs, or how to move in 4-man. So I'm going to need this location. I'm going to need X amount of simulation grenades and smoke grenades and this. So I need this equipment. This is how much I'm going to take into this lesson. This is the warm-up. This is the lesson itself. This is me explaining. This is them practicing. And then we have a little bit of time to, trim the edges, so to speak. So to be an instructor, you really need to like what you're doing.
Really?
Also,
you're going to do it at home a lot.
Because it's going to make a difference when you're teaching. If it's like going to school, right? I don't like mathematics, but if I have a good teacher that knows how to captivate me, I might learn more than just a guy that's over there for the paycheck. So when you become an instructor, when you are an instructor, if you understand, I try to, as much as I can, to understand that the value of my work is going to either help save people's lives and reach the main objective. So I try to do as much as I can. And you really need to like it, because like you were saying, you're going to do a lot of shit at home too. You're going to do a lot of stuff at home, like preparing for the next day and trying to understand what is going on, what you need and what you don't need. That's very important too. Well, again, man, it's like the ego of people. I want to go and shoot and do. Yeah, that's good. But it comes a time where your experience is actually more valuable in the sidelines than actually in the field, like a football coach or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I think that's very important, because if we are trying to help Ukraine and shape and become, this is the most combative army in the world right now.
For sure.
For sure. So if we want to maintain that level, you're going to need guys with experience. Foreigners or Ukrainian nationals, doesn't matter, as long as you maintain that level, because in the future will be a deterrent factor for sure. For sure, a deterrent factor that will help Ukraine maintain their sovereignty and help further invasions if they're thinking about it. Hopefully not, man.
What was the differences in mindsets of Western volunteers that showed up here, and like common, like middle level of like Ukrainian mindset? Because my personal point of view, that influence of foreign volunteers in Ukraine here in Armed Forces of Ukraine, how it looks now, one of the hugest impacts that we got, like we as Ukrainians, was this Western armies cultures. Well, culture, yes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what's the difference was in 2022, how it looks like, how it's going now in the meaning of this?
So I think from what I saw in like 22 was that the military culture had started to kick off, right? Like people were really interested. I mean, you see in like the fall of 22 going into the winter of 23, you start to see the emergence of like everyone wearing the gray level 7 jackets. Everyone's got Solomon boots on. It's like a trendy, like a fashion thing almost. And you can see that, like, okay, the military culture is really picking up now. But that also has a lot to do with organizations such as Azov being so important in the military prior to 22, right? Like, that's not something that just started in 22. It was already in existence. I know a lot of people who were working with Azov in that prior. And I think that helped to shape the culture a lot, especially with young people who were looking for a new military identity, not like a
Soviet-based one,
exactly.
not the Soviet-based.
Yeah,
True.
they want a new. They want this. This is our military, and we're doing it differently now. And I think that so they, as with any, like, I don't want to call it a trend, but as with like any culture, they took the stuff they liked from other cultures and then they made it their own as well. And they made it distinctly Ukrainian. And so I think in terms of like the mindset and motivation of those dudes, I think it's that, like, a lot of the youth has driven like the military culture going forwards nowadays. And yeah, I mean, you see a lot of different, like,
Receptiveness.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it also has to do with age. So I think from 3 years from now, like from 22 till now, a lot of what was junior leadership, right? Now they are in positions of bigger leadership, so to speak. So if a guy was commander of group or commander of platoon, now he's commander of battalion or company. So that has an impact. Why? Why do I think that has an impact? Because the age and the receptiveness are a little bit connected. So the doctrine itself. So you have Western doctrine when it comes to army, and you have Eastern doctrine, right? And from 2022, a lot of leadership roles were still too embedded in Eastern doctrine of the military. And I think with the foreigners coming here, the guys that were trained from the West before 2022, I think that as soon as they start going up the ladder, the things started to change down the ladder. Because if the guy is now, he was a commander of platoon, now he's a commander of battalion, and he has that more Western way of thinking when it comes to organization and structure and doctrine, he's gonna make his battalion work on that way, right? So the more battalions you have working that way, that means the brigade is going to shape itself, and so on and so on. So I think that the receptiveness at the beginning was mixed. You had guys that were welcoming foreigners and their ideas and the way they operated. You had leadership like that, more open-minded, but also I encountered for sure guys with more closed mind, which is like the rule book, the Soviet rule book says it's like this, so I'm going to continue to operate like this.
Let's discuss it a little bit more deeply. The difference between Western and Eastern doctrines, how you call it. How would you describe it?
I think the main thing, the doctrine, the main thing is actually the structure itself, where Western bloc units, or NATO, if you want to call it, we rely more on a junior leadership, like Murray was saying. Like, we rely more on NCOs, non-commissioned officers, sergeants. They have a huge role. Corporals have a huge role. Okay. For example, you'll have the lieutenant, which is the commander of the platoon, and then you have two sergeants, and those sergeants have a very active voice, not only down but also up the ladder. Corporals, the same thing. They also have the voice down and the voice up. So this is the main difference between, I think, the Western doctrine and the Eastern doctrine is exactly this. While the Eastern doctrine is more like you have the officer and you have all the way down, and those guys have no voice up. It's like you follow orders and that's it. You have no inputs, no nothing. And depends on the unit you work with, depends if they're going to have more active voice or not. Like Murray's saying, he's company commander, and he trusts a lot on what his junior leadership tells him because they are on the ground.
So that's a big point I see in maneuver warfare versus, like, I don't even know off the top of my head what Eastern warfare doctrine is called. There's a term for it. But like Western doctrine is typically like maneuver warfare, right? So we focus on
combined arms and maneuver, right?
combined arms and maneuver, but it's like what we're talking about with leadership is that the decision point is made at the closest point to the action. So you have to rely on your junior leadership. Whereas like Eastern doctrine is made more at like the divisional level or the brigade level of decision making. So the commands are being made from a like
outside of the battlefield,
exactly,
so to speak,
and then being pushed down.
Yeah.
So where the junior leadership in Eastern doctrine may have a good understanding of what's happening at the point, they can't make any decisions for themselves. It's like Eastern doctrine on like, I'm not a tank commander.
It's like the cannon fodder method, man.
Well, like, and so like,
if you think about it,
for Eastern doctrine, their tank platoons, for example, I think they're like, you can have like a section of like 3 tanks, for example, but one of those tanks is going to have a officer in it. 2 will have NCOs as their leadership. But the officer, if that tank goes down, that whole 3-section group is fucked, pardon my language, because their decision-making component is gone. Whereas like in a Western doctrine, each of those tanks could make decisions individually, and they're going to, because they're going to follow the direction of that leader, their platoon leader, but they can also make independent decisions for themselves, and that, as long as it fits like the scheme of what they're doing, right?
I think that's the main difference between
where the decision is made.
The two doctrines. It's exactly this: is I can be a sergeant, and my lieutenant tells me, "Hey, you got to clear that position over there," and then I see, "Hey, it's too much firepower. We cannot clear it from this position, but maybe second squad can do it." So we kind of rotate. If I was an assault team and now I'm going to rotate, instead of being an assault team, I'm going to be in a support firing team. And those guys from the right flank are going to push into the assault. And this decision is not made. It's not like you don't ask permission up. You just kind of like talk with each other. Hey, this is bad over here. Let's switch. All right, we'll switch. They go into the assault. And then you debrief after the mission is complete. You go back, you debrief, and they ask you like, why did you switch? Because this happened. Oh, okay, cool.
But Ukrainians have this strength in horizontal networking.
Now, I see it now. But like I said, on the beginning, it kind of depends on the person itself. This is my experience, right? You had people that were more open to it, and you had people that were less open to it. I remember back in 2022, they wanted us to operate and do 1 or 2 assignments, and we said, yeah, for sure. And we had the liberty to plan the mission itself. So they gave us that liberty to plan the mission itself, and we presented the plan. It looked good. There were some inputs. So this is kind of an example of more Western doctrine, right? While if you go to Eastern doctrine, it's like, you are going to go over there.
The micromanagement, right? I'm sure you've seen it.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey,
for sure.
You have a ground force commander, but that ground force commander's authority gets severely restricted, because then he just gets piggybacked on by a talk somewhere saying, hey, you guys need to do this, or hey, tell so-and-so to do this, as opposed to just being like, look, you understand the mission, you understand our intent, you have control of ground forces, do what you need to do, and then they're left to manage as they see fit and necessary, as long as they achieve the objectives. There is a dangerous obsession with tracking every single thing,
every
movement, and controlling it, as opposed to like letting things flow naturally sometimes as the dudes on the ground see fit. It's getting better over time, for sure, as we switch, and I think it's something that can only change with time. You can't expect people to change tomorrow on this kind of stuff, right?
That's why I'm saying I think it has changed a lot during these years, and I think it will continue to change because it's a new generation. You see it in every army.
Yeah.
Not only in the Ukrainian army, you see it in every army. Whether it's Eastern doctrine or Western doctrine, it does not matter. You see it in any army, right? You can see it in the Portuguese army. You can see it in the American army, where the old-timers, so to speak, start moving either up or out. You see the younger generation with their ideas, still with the same legacy, with the same main goal, but with different approach to it. Well, I think it's a matter of approach. and you start seeing this open mindset into a lot of brigades, into a lot of forces here, which is very, very good. Because in my experience, or what I think is, if you do actually have this more Western structure of horizontal and junior leadership with the trust they need and with the liberty they can have, I think you will have more results. And you give autonomy and you give responsibility to not only the junior leadership but to the soldier itself. So the private, the last guy over here, the soldier, not only becomes a shooter but also a thinker, right? And just because he's a thinker does not mean he's not going to follow orders, but he's a critical thinker, right? It's that thing of like, go over there. But if I'm not a critical thinker, I'm going to move from point A to point B and I'm going to stay there. But this position is very, very bad for me. So if it's bad for me, why don't I move 10 meters to the left or 5 meters to the left?
It's not about like democracy in the army that I tell you to do this and then you decide if it's because I'm critical thinker. It's about I will do this, but I will choose the way how to approach it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a matter of, you send me to that tree over there, but I know that tree is not a good cover for me. So I'm going to take the initiative and move 5 feet to the left where I see a bigger tree or I see a bigger cover without asking you for permission.
But like you said, with the responsibility of it too is a huge part, because that brings everybody is involved and everyone is responsible for the success or failure of an operation or a mission, right?
True, yeah.
So as opposed to where junior dudes, hey, go here, do this. Okay, Roger. It goes badly. Dudes come back. Hey, why did you send us on that mission? It was stupid. You planned a terrible mission for us. All the responsibility lands on people in the talk or something who don't go on the ground. A division starts to build because of, hey, we get these stupid orders, but we get told we just have to go do it.
We are the ones that are doing it, and they're over there in the safety of the basement.
Yeah. Whereas if they understand, if soldiers understand their commander's intent, they understand the objective, and they understand the why that needs to happen. But you don't necessarily say, hey, I'm going to tell you every single piece of how you have to do this. This is what needs to happen. This is the end state we're looking for, right? And this is the why this end state needs to be this way to support these next things occurring. Well, then you give the dudes the freedom to say, okay, I'm not going to do it by charging across that 200-meter open field, because that doesn't make sense to me. But there's a tree line that flanks around 5 kilometers to the east that we know is relatively safe to travel, and I can get on the flank of this enemy. Then they propose that as an idea. Or, you know, smaller scale, different movements. They take a bit more in like autonomy in it. And then the successes and the failures of those operations become everybody's responsibility, right? So it's not just like, man, I as a company commander planned a shitty mission. It's, hey, okay, what went wrong at all levels of it? How do we do better next time as a group? But it's not just me sending dudes on death missions. It's
and on the individual aspect, not only tactical but also technical, and you kind of give more responsibility of professionalism. So everyone is held accountable. For example, we're going to do an operation, right? I'm the machine gunner, for example, and I decide just to take 400 rounds, right? It's not going to go. It's not going to go.
And one barrel.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you give responsibility on equipment, on everyone has their stuff ready.
Yeah.
Right? It's the thing is like, when I wake up and I'm going to do an operation, I cannot think about myself. If I wake up thinking about him, he's going to think about the other. If everyone just concentrates on what can I do to help my team, I think that team is unbeatable.
It's like do you
know what I mean?
Yeah, when you come back from operation, you have your like responsibilities of like
the gear, the vehicles,
team, equipment, then equipment, then myself. You are the lowest.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is, you kind of give that responsibility and you kind of give a purpose to that soldier. It's like, oh yeah, ready my equipment, but if I don't take a pair of socks, no, like what do I have here? What's my teammate? is going to need? Are they going to need this? Instead of 1 bottle of water, maybe I'll take 2, just in case. Instead of like 4 grenades, maybe I'll take 7 or 8. You know what I mean? You kind of give them that responsibility, and everyone not policing each other, but it's like, oh, what are you going to take? Oh, I'm going to take this. Okay, so if you're going to take this, we're going to share the load. I'm going to take 2 more rations on my backpack. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it comes down to a lot of that instruction too, right? Because like I always tell dudes that, hey, like, I'm going to treat you as an adult. It's big boy rules. I'm not going to micromanage you 24/7 because I don't have the time, nor do I have the desire to do that. I'm going to train you to the standard, and I'm going to give you all the tools, and I'm going to make sure that you understand how we operate and how I expect you to operate. But then I need to see that you are going to do that for yourself. When I give you a task, I'm going to say, hey, this is what we've got going. And then you're going to have team leaders who will do like PCCs and PCIs, right? And all the pre-combat checks to make sure that, like, because people do try to go on the ground with minimal amounts of shit and they mess up and people make poor decisions, of course. But that's so much easier than me going through and individually telling everyone, hey, here's your packing list, here's everything, and I'm going to personally check it one by one. Why do I need to do that when I can trust that you know your job, you know what's expected of you, you're going to do it, and then we can just cover down on the small necessities at the end there. It makes people feel like a pro. Yeah,
they have like that purpose of responsibility. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think that
it makes
awesome.
better soldiers, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because again, the being a critical thinker is not about democracy. It's about you adjusting yourself if you need to adjust yourself, you taking action. It's like that thing, it's better to ask sorry than
Ask
permission.
for forgiveness and permission.
Sometimes it's better to ask forgiveness than for permission, because asking for permission can close the time window to do something. Right, and on that time window when it's closed, you might be talking about someone getting shot or not. Right, it's like, oh, can I toss a couple of frags on this blindage? I don't know if no, just do it. And that's very important. Like the autonomy, it gives more autonomy on the field itself, and it takes away a little bit of responsibility or weight on the shoulders of junior leadership. If you have critical thinkers as soldiers, guys that know what they're doing, know their job, read the terrain, read what's going on, and take action on it without asking permission. Because let's imagine you're a sergeant, right? You have to communicate, to talk. You have to understand where your soldiers are. You have to evaluate the situation. If you are kind of like micromanaging or babysitting, like, you go over there, you go over there, you have to worry about 20 things at the same time. You're gonna miss some.
Oh yeah.
How many months does it take for example, guys that just joined the army? Because Ukrainian army is, if I can say this, is civilian army. A lot of people go from civilian life. And this type of mindset is completely understandable. I get it, but from the perspective that, like, soft guys, like definitely, they have like decade of service. Their mindset is shaped for this type of thinking. But when you have some guy that just joined the unit, that he showed up from some IT company or from some truck driver or something, you know, now he's in the army. How many months does it take, you know, to people like this to start to get it, if they don't have so many experience and so many yes, I know what you're doing if you are a professional soldier, but if you are not, yes.
No one becomes a professional soldier from one day to the other, man. No one does it. It comes with experience, it comes with training, it comes with the years doing it.
A huge part of it too, I think, that I admire, like from 3rd Assault and stuff that I see you guys do really well, is the culture in the unit itself. Like, you can have the most professional training program, but if you don't have the culture in the unit where everybody like covers down on each other, everybody brings each other up, you don't have these petty like rivalries between teams where everyone's like just negatively dragging each other down, and you have like we were talking about with the esprit de corps, right? Where you're hyping up your unit, you're celebrating the successes of other teams. that you work with, not your successes necessarily, but just because they're part of the unit, and you're like, awesome, the unit's doing well.
Let's be honest. In our legion, there was a lot of this stuff in the very beginning.
A lot of the negativity.
Yes.
There's
But
But
now
that's ego,
less.
man.
Yes,
That's the
100%
ego.
ego.
And
Yeah.
we didn't have culture.
No, and it's still
In the
something.
meaning of some culture that would join everybody around.
Just take a look at the French Foreign Legion. You want a best example? Take a look
Yeah.
at the French Foreign Legion.
100 years of building the unit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 100 years. Do you know what I mean? What I'm saying is, if you take a look at the French Foreign Legion, I believe that the Legion itself over here should be made as the French Foreign Legion structure.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I think it works. This is my personal opinion. I think it works if you have that structure, and then you start with the mystique, and then you start maintaining that mystique. The French Foreign Legion is the best example that proves that you can get people from all around the world, and it works. It works. They're under the same language, but it works.
Yeah.
If you go to the French Foreign Legion, they will have like guys that speak Portuguese and Spanish, like kind of sideline, the guys that speak English on another, but they all come together and work. I think that this is very important to have that mystique that you were talking about, that unit situation. And if you're a civilian and you come to the army, to take that civilian mindset out of you, it depends, I think, a lot on how you were brought up in life.
Yeah.
The experience of life you have, okay? It's gonna have a huge impact on how fast you learn and how fast you take information. But for example, I don't think you can form a regular infantryman in less than 2 months.
No,
Less than 2
definitely
months.
not.
Less than 2 months. I'm talking about every aspect of it. You need at least 3 to 4 months to form a good basic with good basis of infantry. And then that point forward, it will depend on their junior leadership, their comrades, and the leadership of the company or the battalion itself, and how they train from that point forward. If you have good junior leadership, they will make them think, right? So they will be held accountable or not, in terms of the daily basis, right? Like, you seen a piece of garbage on the floor. Why didn't you pick it up? Oh, because it's not my garbage. Oh, it's not your garbage. Okay, we're gonna deal with that. So the whole group gets something out of it, and then that, I think, the spirit of corps kind of makes people think of each other. Like I said, if I get up and I start thinking about my teammates, but I also have to have the confidence they will do the same thing, that team is unbeatable. It's unstoppable.
Yep.
Because they're not fighting for themselves, they're fighting for the guy next. That's it. And that takes a little bit. That takes a little bit of time. But
I mean, it's like developing someone into a proficient professional infantryman is like an always ongoing process. Like you were saying, you can take 2 months to develop someone's like baseline skills, but that doesn't develop the mentality of like being a good soldier. You then need to, like you're saying, have standards, right? That everybody is held to. And those dudes need to develop the ability to hold themselves to that standard, hold themselves accountable when no one else is around. Then
exactly.
When dudes start to do that, then I'm like, okay, this dude is
discipline,
getting it. Yeah.
Discipline of it. For example, you're gonna go do PT training. If I'm not around, you're gonna do it. If you're gonna do it by yourself, if no one tells you to do it, but you still wake up and you go do PT or drills or whatever, that shows character. I will choose every time. I will choose a guy with the character and the will to learn over a guy that's the best shooter or the best physical shape guy, because technical and tactical and physical you can obtain very, very easy, right? Not from one day to the other, but you can obtain. The hardest thing to shape is the character, right? So if I have one guy that's the best shooter, best physical, he understands tactics, but he has a bad character in a team or in a platoon, it's a cancer. I don't want that guy. Give me the best character guy. Oh, but he's weak. He'll go to the gym. Oh, he's a bad shooter. We will teach him how to shoot. He's going to get there. But he has that team spirit, that character. I want this guy on my team. So it takes a little while.
Yeah.
But you just need to make the right choices, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
I think character is definitely one of the biggest indicators of a dude's success because, like you said, everything else can be developed. I can
Team
take you to
dude,
the,
a
we can
team
go to the
dude,
range 5
simple
days a
dude,
week.
You know,
Yeah.
like the simple team dude. It's like, hey, man, you need some help,
Yeah.
right?
And again, it goes back to that ego thing again, too. Dudes who can take themselves out of the picture or out of the equation, I guess, and say like, oh, okay, well, like this isn't about me. My fitness isn't for me. It's so I don't hold the boys back when we're running somewhere, when we're getting chased by those drones. Dudes
If I
aren't
need
like,
to pick someone up,
yep,
save his goddamn life.
yep.
You know what I mean? It's about that.
Yeah, it's not I think that trash example is a great one. That, like you said, it's like, okay, well, if I see, you know, if I'm in my place of business, be it as a training area that we're billeted at for whatever, or like at the base or anything, like even if it's at a course that I'm attending on someone else's base, but I'm attached to that unit, well, if they show pride and care in the cleanliness and how their equipment's stored and managed, they make sure that like, sweeping rocks off the sidewalk because that's what they do, because they care about the presentation of their units like facilities. Well, then you got to respect that, right? And take it on yourself to also do that. And if I see guys getting on board with that and they show the common understanding, then I'm like, okay, that guy understands the team aspect of it. That it's
because it shows discipline and it shows pride in the little things. It's the little things that actually, the little details that tell you this guy is a good member. It's going to be a good member of a team, or this guy is a good shooter, but he's going to be a bad member on a team. It's those small little things, I think.
And that kind of attitude like leads over into the tactical realm of things too, because if I understand that that dude can get on board with the team mindset and like things like standardization of uniforms, and like uniformity, don't wear additional patches, you wear the standard for patches, wear the same camo we all wear. And dudes are like, oh, okay, I understand. I can get on board with that. No arguing, they just do it, it's whatever. That's a dude that I can trust when I say, hey, this is the intent for this mission, right? This is the why we're doing this, and I'm going to give you the 2 levels up of why it's happening in the briefing. And they're like, okay, I see that. They see the big picture.
Exactly.
So I can believe that when they make decisions on the ground, they are thinking about the big picture and everybody else. They're not thinking, fuck, I need to get out of here because I am at risk. My bag is heavy. My weapon is heavy. I'm going to chuck that stuff and just leg it. Whatever happens to the dudes behind me happens to the dudes behind me, but I'll get to the exfil point. No, that dude has shown the characteristics and the traits that say, hey, he is going to put the mission first. He's going to sacrifice himself if necessary, or put himself in the way of personal sacrifice to achieve the mission and make sure that everybody gets back collectively.
It's like when the ego is gone, the ears are open to knowledge, and the eyes are also open. It's again about ego. What you want is a guy with good character, because a guy that's, like you were saying, that's only focused on himself, it's gonna be, oh, I have my GoPro, I'm going to do this to get good footages, and I'm going to do this to feel like Rambo. That's a guy that's going to jeopardize the mission. It's going to jeopardize himself, the mission, and it's going to put other people in danger. That's the main thing. That's why I say character is very, very important.
Absolutely.
Very, very important, especially if you're working on small teams. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. It's just like when you're working on small teams, it's like you rely on 6 or 8 dudes, and you're pushing in like 2 clicks away from your lines into enemy lines. If some guy gets shot and needs to be evacuated, it's like you're depending on 4 dudes to carry him for 3 or 5 kilometers back to the 0 contact line, and you also need to maintain security on the transportation. So you need to have the right mindset to do it. and you need to have that character in you. And that comes with the mystique of the unit, with the protocol of the unit, with the pride that you have on the unit. Yeah, like the patch system, for example. I like the patch system, which is like, you want a patch, you want to wear it, you're going to wear it with pride. Okay, if you have to do something to get that patch, if you have to go through something, let's say 1 assault or 2 assaults to get that patch, when you put it on your shoulder, you're going to be proud to wear it. And you're going to call it out. If someone has that patch on his shoulder and is doing something he shouldn't do, you're going to call him out. Why? Because you have pride on it, because it was tough to get it. You understand? This is just one system. You have multiple, right?
Yeah.
But in uniformization, like getting everyone on the same page when it comes to uniforms and this rules. If you have a guy that's go, oh, this is our rules, okay, all right, I'm on board.
Yeah.
Or, hey, sorry, but I'm not on board with that. Okay, like, I'm gonna find somewhere to be, because I'm not on board with what you're doing on how you operate. So I'm gonna find another place that better fits me, right?
Yeah.
For example, you have your team. If I'm going to your team and I do not fit in, or I don't feel like comfortable, you don't have to change the way your team is.
No, yeah.
I have to change scenario. It's all a matter of egos. I think the ego is more. It's like the thing that I've seen more over here. It's the ego.
Yeah, yeah. It holds people up the most.
Ego on people. It doesn't matter if they're company commanders or they're just soldiers. It's the ego itself. You got to take the. You have to have the confidence, right?
Yeah.
But not the ego.
Yeah.
It's two different
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
Confidence, yes.
Big
Ego,
time.
it's a little bit different. Yeah.
Okay, guys, I think we're done.
Yeah.
So it was cool conversation.
Cool.
Thank you a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much for
It's a
listening.
wrap.
Cut.
Yeah.